Midwinter skies over western China. The air trembles. From the haze, a black triangle rises, broad, tailless, eerily smooth. 3 engines flare in sequence, light bleeding through morning fog. Then a sonic boom splits the valley and echoes across Chengdu's industrial plain. Phones lift, cameras shake. Within minutes, images flood every forum, and for the first time, analysts see it clearly. The J-36 has flown. The headlines hit like missiles. China's 6th-generation stealth fighter takes to the air. Not rumor, not render, reality. A machine so radical that veteran pilots call it impossible. In 30 seconds of footage, it upends years of assumptions and sends defense ministries into emergency briefings. Because this isn't just a prototype, it's the most expensive message ever delivered by jet exhaust. A $50 billion warning that China's race for air dominance is no longer theoretical. December 26, 2024, Mao Zedong's birthday, a date chosen with precision. While the world naps between holidays, China rolls its newest secret from a hangar at Chengdu Aviation Base. The symbolism is perfect, revolution reborn in carbon fiber. Reporters are banned, but satellite photos leak before sunrise. By noon, Western analysts are calling it an aerial Sputnik moment. The jet itself defies every rule of fighter design. A wide flying wing body without tails or stabilizers. Twin delta edges blending into an elongated fuselage. And, most shocking of all, 3 engines. Not 2 like the F-22 or J-20. 3, 2 mounted low, 1 set high behind a dorsal intake, forming a hump that gives the aircraft its predatory profile. It looks more like an alien strike craft than something born in Earth's atmosphere. Inside, 2 pilots sit side by side under a single canopy. No tandem seating, no cramped cockpit. One flies, the other commands. Every surface around them glows with holographic readouts, sensor maps, drone feeds, missile arcs. The J-36 isn't built for dogfights, it's built for domination. A flying brain with muscles of titanium. For decades, American air power reigned uncontested from the Persian Gulf to the Pacific. The F-22 Raptor owned the skies. The F-35 connected the battlefield like no aircraft before it. But in 2011, China unveiled the J-20 and began to chip away at that monopoly. Now with J-36, the balance tilts again. It's not imitation, it's escalation. The Dragon no longer chases the Eagle, it flies beside it. Analysts studying the footage notice the takeoff angle first. Steep, smooth, effortless. That's raw thrust. 3 turbofans mean over 100,000 pounds of combined force. Enough to lift 50 tons of airframe and ordnance while remaining supersonic without afterburners. In a single sortie, it can supercruise for hours, covering 2,000 kilometers before the fuel gauges blink. From mainland bases, that reach extends past the Philippine Sea and deep into the second island chain. Guam is suddenly a front line. Tri-engine design also unlocks something rare in fighter aviation: redundancy. Lose one engine and you don't lose the mission. The center intake feeds a separate power loop dedicated to electrical systems and directed energy experiments. Rumors hint at laser pods hidden beneath the fuselage for missile defense or sensor blinding. Whether operational or experimental, the concept is terrifying. Unlimited power for unlimited options. From above, the J-36 resembles a ginkgo leaf spanning more than 20 meters. That shape is not aesthetic. Its stealth geometry evolved to the extreme. No vertical tails to reflect radar pings, no canards to scatter beams. Even the air inlets use diverterless bumps that feed air smoothly while hiding the compressor blades that normally betray an aircraft's location. The skin is one continuous sheet of composite laminate, coated with metamaterials that bend electromagnetic waves like glass bends light. Radar cross-section, likely smaller than a ping-pong ball. Thermal signature, vanishing into the background of the sky. At 50,000 feet, the J-36 is not seen until it wants to be. Its brains are no less radical. An AI-assisted flight computer predicts turbulence and adjusts surfaces before the pilot feels it. Quantum encrypted data links tie it to satellites, ground stations, and drone swarms in real time. If one connection is jammed, another picks up instantly. Inside that side-by-side cockpit, the right seat officer can command a pack of autonomous wingmen spanning hundreds of kilometers. Each drone feeds live video, radar, and infrared into the J-36's fusion display. Together, they become one organism of metal and code. Its payload completes the nightmare. The central weapons bay, 7 meters long, can house missiles the size of small cars, PL-17 long-range air-to-air killers meant to knock out tankers and AWACS planes far beyond visual range. In secondary bays rest PL-15 and PL-21 interceptors for closer dogfights, and if configured for anti-ship roles, 2 supersonic YJ-12 missiles fit snugly inside like swords in sheaths. Each can strike a carrier group from over 400 kilometers. No Western fighter carries such firepower internally. When those doors open, stealth ends and apocalypse begins. Missiles launch in pairs, the bay reseals in seconds, and the jet vanishes from radar again. Targets would see their screens flash red, and then nothing. Only the impact confirms what hit them. The numbers alone tell the story. 2 pilots, 3 engines, 12 missiles, 2,000 kilometers of range. Every statistic breaks a rule that kept fighters limited for decades. And the price tag, $50 billion in development, buys more than a plane. It buys a challenge to every assumption about who controls the air. By the time sun sets on the day of its first flight, defense forums are on fire. Simulation experts run mock battles. Could an F-22 even see a J-36 before being locked on? Could an F-35's network outthink its AI? No one agrees, but everyone understands. The era of uncontested air dominance is over. Across the Pacific, alarms glow red in operations centers from Hawaii to Washington. Analysts freeze the leaked footage frame by frame, tracing panel lines, comparing engine exhaust geometry, running radar cross-section estimates through classified software. The verdict is chilling. If those images are authentic, China just fielded an aircraft with the radar signature of a Sparrow and the range of a bomber. No simulation had prepared them for a tri-engine stealth platform this soon. Within hours, the Pentagon orders satellite retasks over Chengdu. Recon birds sweep the region twice daily, searching for run-up areas, heat blooms, and movement on taxiways. The National Air and Space Intelligence Center issues an overnight bulletin titled Emergent Peer Stealth Platform. Operational indicators unknown. Quiet panic spreads through think tanks and war colleges. The United States had expected another decade before confronting this level of Chinese engineering. That timeline just evaporated. Inside the White House Situation Room, the Air Force Chief of Staff briefs the President. Slides flash, J-36 propulsion analysis, projected radar envelope, estimated weapons bay volume. It's real, he says, and it's fast. Around the table, advisors weigh responses. Accelerate NGAD, increase funding for loyal wingman drones, harden Pacific bases. No one argues. The new era has already begun. Meanwhile, halfway around the world, allies digest the same shock. In Tokyo, defense ministers convene at midnight. Japan's F-3 program receives emergency budget approval. In Canberra, strategists redraw air defense maps. Northern runways once considered safe now fall within J-36 range. Seoul reopens talks to buy additional F-35s and integrate hypersonic interceptors. NATO intelligence divisions huddle with US liaisons to reassess deterrence models. The message is clear. The Pacific contest is no longer regional, it's global. The J-36's implications ripple beyond weapons. Its side-by-side cockpit signals a shift toward man-machine cooperation rather than solitary heroism. 2 brains sharing one digital nervous system mirror the teamwork of AI and human logic that will define 6th-generation warfare. To Western analysts, that's unsettling. The aircraft is not just stealthier, it's smarter. Inside China, celebration ignites. State television loops the launch footage, though edited carefully to conceal details. Commentators call it a symbol of technological rejuvenation. On social media, patriotic hashtags trend for days. The People's Liberation Army Air Force releases an oblique statement. New platforms now ensure comprehensive air superiority beyond 2035. No specifications, only confidence. But for the engineers at Chengdu Aircraft Corporation, confidence is earned. They have built something that finally stands equal to, perhaps above, anything the West can field. Technically, the leap is staggering. The engines, likely WS-20 derivatives with vectoring nozzles, produce thrust levels approaching those of the F-135, but arranged in a triangular configuration for balanced lift and control authority. Each engine contributes to stealth via flattened exhausts that mix cool bypass air with hot gases, masking infrared plumes. The internal cooling ducts circulate fuel as heat sink, making the jet almost invisible to thermal sensors. Its avionics suite runs on indigenous chips hardened against cyber intrusion. Sensor fusion doesn't merely overlay data, it predicts outcomes. Threat avoidance algorithms simulate dogfights millions of times and feed lessons back into the pilot's interface. The aircraft learns every flight. If one radar locks on, the system calculates dozens of evasive trajectories and presents 3 optimal choices. The pilot selects, the jet executes. Reaction time shrinks from seconds to milliseconds. This is what frightens Western planners most, the automation of intuition. Once, human reflex defined supremacy. Now software may replace instinct. If the J-36's code matures, it could outthink opponents before missiles even launch. In the South China Sea, navies respond. US carrier groups widen dispersal. Submarines patrol shallower waters to detect electromagnetic anomalies. New Aegis destroyers deploy with upgraded radar modes optimized for low observable targets. The message is defensive but firm. We see you coming. Yet truth lingers. Seeing is not enough when the target vanishes faster than radar refresh. American aerospace firms accelerate quietly. Skunkworks prototypes roll out at night under floodlights. Test pilots whisper about hybrid propulsion, adaptive cycle engines, and plasma-cooled skins. The J-36 may have drawn first blood in the optics war, but it also handed US engineers their greatest motivator in decades. Rivalry breeds innovation. By spring 2025, military budgets swell across continents. Europe's FCAS project receives unprecedented funding. Japan, the UK, and Italy fast-track their GCAP alliance. Australia joins the B-21 partnership to host forward bomber detachments. The arms race has officially rebooted, not in paranoia but in necessity. For the first time since the Cold War, the sky once again becomes the ultimate chessboard. Stealth fighters and bombers are the queens, few in number, devastating in reach. Every nation now designs strategies around them. In simulators, virtual J-36 squadrons duel against American NGAD formations. Outcomes vary, but one theme repeats. Whoever controls data flow controls the war. Pilots will soon be programmers as much as warriors. And behind all the technology, one uncomfortable truth remains. The J-36's creation wasn't driven solely by defense, it was driven by ambition. Beijing wants to show that innovation no longer belongs exclusively to Silicon Valley or Seattle. In that sense, the J-36 is less a weapon than a declaration of independence from Western engineering dominance. It tells the world that China can design, build, and field the future on its own terms. The tremor from that first test flight never really stopped. Every defense lab, every war college classroom now builds its simulations around one question. What happens when the J-36 shows up for real? Picture a Pacific dawn. Carrier decks hum, satellites blink, then silence. Somewhere beyond radar range, a single J-36 rises through the cloud layer. Its drones spread out ahead like shards of black glass. Electronic warfare pods flood the spectrum with noise. Decoy drones mimic bomber signatures, confusing every screen. Within minutes, the sky is chaos. Too many targets, too few seconds. By the time defenders realize which blip is real, their missile sites are already burning. That's how the J-36 fights, not with brute force but with confusion. Information becomes ammunition. In this new doctrine, victory doesn't belong to whoever shoots first, it belongs to whoever knows first. The J-36 is designed for that world. Its brain learns from every encounter. One mission over the East China Sea teaches it how Western radar frequencies shift. The next mission adjusts automatically. No human pilot could process so much data so fast, but the jet's algorithms were trained on petabytes of simulated battles. Every second in the air is another rehearsal for the next war. Now imagine dozens of them. An entire regiment hidden inside China's interior airfields, ready to surge eastward. Each linked to hundreds of satellite relays, each commanding its own drone wing. A single push of a button could turn the Western Pacific into a silent, invisible battlefield. That's why the number that terrifies planners isn't 3 engines or 12 missiles, it's 30 seconds. From detection to destruction, that's all it takes. But technology never exists in a vacuum. The J-36's rise forces a mirror reflection in Washington. The next generation air dominance program accelerates. American engineers study every pixel of leaked footage, not to imitate, but to counter. If the J-36 hides in the dark, NGAD will own the light. Adaptive sensors, laser-based targeting, and manned-unmanned teams begin testing over the Mojave Desert. Airmen who once grew up on F-15s now train with AI co-pilots that talk, think, and predict like human partners. The race isn't about who flies fastest, it's about who learns fastest. Beyond the Pacific, the geopolitical map reshapes itself. India expands its stealth project with France. South Korea doubles down on the KF-21. The Middle East, long focused on drones, now dreams of indigenous stealth jets. Everywhere, nations realize the same truth. Whoever masters the invisible wins the century. And yet, beneath the noise, a deeper current runs. The more perfect machines become, the more fragile deterrence feels. Every new leap narrows the gap between peace and panic. When a single sortie could erase a naval fleet, diplomacy becomes the first and last defense line. That paradox defines the modern age. Technology powerful enough to destroy everything, designed to ensure that nothing happens. Still, there's another side to this story, the human side. Behind the J-36 stand engineers who spent decades catching up to the West. Behind America's response stand generations who refuse to fall behind. Innovation isn't a nationality, it's a mindset, a rhythm of relentless improvement. And in that rhythm, the United States still leads. Because while others copy blueprints, America copies nothing. It invents. In the test ranges of Nevada, new shapes take form under tarps. Airframes glint under the sun for a second before vanishing back into hangars. Pilots walk out with the same quiet purpose their predecessors carried through every era, from the P-51 to the F-22, from the B-17 to the B-21. They know that progress is pressure, and pressure is the price of freedom. The strategic meaning of the J-36 is simple but profound. It proves that the age of easy dominance is over, and that the contest for control of the sky will define the next 50 years. But it also reignites the engine of American innovation. Every time a rival raises the bar, the US raises it higher. The story of air power has never been about comfort, it's been about challenge. So what happens when these titans finally meet? Picture the horizon again, the same Pacific, the same dawn, but now two phantoms approach from opposite directions. One born in Chengdu, the other in Palmdale. Both invisible, both intelligent. They close distance at twice the speed of sound, sensors whispering, computers predicting, and then, before a single missile launches, one of them breaks off, not in defeat, but in deterrence. Because sometimes the greatest victory is the silence that follows. That's the paradox of power. The stronger the guardians, the safer the world. The J-36 may threaten, but it also reminds the West why vigilance matters. It's not a countdown to conflict, it's a wake-up call to stay ahead. From the roar of the F-47 to the whisper of the B-2, from the digital mind of the NGAD to the unknown face of the J-36, one idea survives every generation, that freedom of the sky protects freedom below it. Machines evolve, but conviction endures. So yes, let the J-36 rise, let it challenge, because in that challenge lies renewal. The same country that built the first stealth jet, the first supersonic bomber, the first reusable spacecraft, will build the next miracle too. The race isn't over, it's just begun again. And when the day comes that invisible wings cross above the Pacific, the outcome won't hinge on who has more engines or smarter code. It will hinge on who flies with greater purpose. That purpose, steady, tested, human, remains America's greatest weapon. From the hum of hangars in California to the wind cutting across Guam, the message echoes. Power tempered by principle, technology guided by courage. That's what separates a threat from a protector. That's what keeps the peace. Because when America's pilots take off, they don't just rise into the sky, they rise into history. They carry 70 years of lessons, sacrifice, and belief that the next flight, the next innovation, the next challenge will always find them ready. The J-36 may be fast, it may be silent, but resolve flies faster, and freedom echoes louder.